Aloha and welcome to Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker. We're broadcasting live from ThinkTech Studios in the Pioneer Plaza in beautiful downtown Honolulu in the great state of Hawaii. If you want to tune into the live broadcast, please go to livestream.com. And if you'd like to subscribe to our programs, please go to thinktechhawaii.com and you can fill in the form and you can get on our subscription list. The theme of Business of Hawaii, or Business in Hawaii, is a positive message on businesses, successful businesses in Hawaii and how they become successful. And I just wanted, before we get to our guests, I just wanted to mention that I had just come from the Pacific Business News Fastest 50 event in the convention center. And they had roughly 1,000 people at that event at the convention center, all mingling, all sharing the excitement of doing business in Hawaii, all looking for ways of improving what they're doing. The energy was just incredible. And a little bit of trivia that I found out that's probably public knowledge now that the event's pretty much over, is that of those 50 companies that got recognized today for the fastest growing companies in Hawaii, the number 50, the lowest one on that list, had a growth rate, year-over-year growth sales rate of 51%. That's pretty impressive. And I think Hawaii has got a lot of good stories like that. As a matter of fact, that event produced 50 stories that we can go into. But we've got one of those successes here today again. And I'd like to introduce Dennis Wong, who's a Senior Vice President of Hawaii National Bank. And I'd like to introduce Tom McDonald, who's the Executive Director of Kahumana Community. And we've got some good stories and great knowledge to share today. So Dennis, would you mind sharing a little bit about your background and your experience?
Yes, I'm the Senior Vice President and Oahu Region Manager for Hawaii National Bank. Been in the banking industry since 1977, but I've joined Hawaii National Bank in 1982. And what I regard myself as a private banker. It requires close social skills and not so much like before, Reggie, where we would be in a background doing the paperwork, but really the focus is to be involved with the businesses up front. And so at Hawaii National Bank, we specialize in full service products, full banking services, but really where our engagement is into closely held, locally owned, closely held businesses. So we go deeply into the relationships, working with the business clientele as well as the retail market.
It sounds like you almost work with them as partners in their business development and getting the business done.
Yes, what is unique to us is we're locally owned and we're a third generation bank. So because we've been working closely with businesses since 1960, we're able to drill down and really from the smaller businesses to the mid-size and to large businesses, we're able to work with them personally, directly, look at their financials, diagnose what products and services that would fit their requirements, because not everybody has the same type of requirements. And because of the experience and knowledge we have, we're able to pass that down to the local businesses.
Very good. That sounds very valuable. Tom, you've got your hands full. You got a lot going on.
Yeah, we do. And first, I'd like to thank Dennis. We're proud clients of the Hawaii National Bank, and what he says is really true. They are the neighborhood bank. They take a deep interest in our social businesses and really help us along the way. So thank you, and thank you, Reg, for helping Hawaii celebrate business. There's lots of exciting stories. So my personal story is I grew up here in Hawaii, went off to college, studied Mandarin and business, and got caught up in the exciting growth era of the early 80s in Taiwan and China, helped a staffing and human resource consulting company build up a branch network all throughout Taiwan and Hong Kong and China for about a decade. And with that, with the resources from that business, after I met my wife, we started a camp in Taiwan, which we still run as a family, Camp Taiwan. She's actually over there. It's her last week of summer camp, and there's a typhoon on the way. So hang in there, honey.
So is she coming home early?
No, unfortunately not. And then more recently, returning to our home state of Hawaii and getting involved in a community that I've known for many years, and for the last 3 years have worked at it, most recently as the executive director.
Very good. And you've got in your DNA some finance skills that you have learned over, but your father also is pretty prominent.
Yeah, that's right. I'm proud to say my dad is the most senior professor at the age of 78, teaching full-time at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. He's been there for over 40 years. Yeah.
So have you found that having these financial skills has helped you in your endeavors?
Well, with my own kids, and maybe you guys are the same, we like to talk about numbers around the table. I like my kids to understand the basics of income and expenses and shareholding, and those were topics around our family table as well. Of course, mom and other relatives kept it balanced, so we weren't only talking numbers all the time. We also talk about spirituality and religion and art, but at its core, the fundamental skills of finance are so key, and as sort of a platform to do other things.
I don't want to add any fuel to the stereotype of a banker or CPA, but those dinner topics of numbers and P&Ls are music to my ears.
Yeah.
Well, what I've found is I'm very honored to be here and to have the association with you, Reg, and with you, Tom, because these are two gentlemen that is really involved in the community. And Reg, you as being a CPA, I've worked with you directly, and I've seen the understanding, the involvement, the care that you put in, and how you work directly into organizations and with businesses. And I see the same with Tom. So I hope that we can bring value to the business community as far as what we can share with them, and encouraging news that we do see a brighter future for Hawaii.
Well, and I certainly appreciate that, Dennis. I think we all have years of experience and knowledge, and that's part of what this program is about, is to try to share some of that with the viewers, and to leave them with something that they can use later. Mm-hmm. And I think with all the years of experience we each have, there certainly should be something in there that somebody's going to find valuable, because we're all successful in our own way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's, we can be mentors.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I want to have on this show,
Yeah.
is people coming on and sharing that wisdom and trying to make it a better place. And I think also to change the perception that business is difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all got challenges. There's challenges all across the country.
Yeah.
I think it's how you approach those kind of challenges and work around it.
Yeah.
And I think and the people sitting in this table right now, we've all encountered that.
Yeah.
We're working around that, but we're not necessarily doing it alone.
Yeah.
We've got a team that we're working with that we've cultivated over the years.
Well, what's great about your approach, and Dennis, your approach, which is similar to my dad's approach, teaching finance, is it's the fundamental analysis. It's not so much financial analysis, it's the analysis of companies and ideas and people and what's getting done. And within that context, the financial numbers make sense. And they're very dramatic stories and very interesting stories. And if you look at it from that perspective, they're fun stories to talk about.
And the bottom line is that those financial results provide the fuel to get the other programs delivered.
Yeah.
And so you can't necessarily have one without the other. They all have to work together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure, Dennis, you've seen in your years of experience that sometimes companies have a very strong product and can deliver that product very well, but there are other influences that can interfere with that delivery.
Let me add to that, or play off of it. Not every time when we experience a business applicant that wants to obtain a loan, we can approve And as you know, banking is one of the highest or maybe the highest regulated industries there are in the United States. But what we do as bankers and at Hawaii National Bank is if we can develop the relationship with the business owner who has the dream or vision of starting his or her own business, then what we can do is put them into proper contact with maybe business consultants, plan underwriters. We can guide them and advise them as to how they can strengthen the business, what elements that they need to fill into that to make it possible, because it takes time sometimes in order to develop that business. And I'd like to encourage people that have the dream and vision to start their own business, that business is alive. It's what started our country and influenced our country up to now, and I believe that it will continue doing so well into the future.
Very good. You know, Tom, I guess you also have a board, I would assume.
Yes, absolutely.
And you've got a team that you work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's an important component of your success, is it not?
Yep, absolutely. Governance, especially for nonprofits, is key. And you know, as a nonprofit, we look in a very disciplined way at our finances, and we've developed P&Ls for each of our divisions, and we've trained and required the division managers to report on their P&Ls. The role of the board, of course, is fiduciary responsibility, but also to look at the overall goals of the organization, whether we're meeting not only our financial goals, staying legally compliant, but also fundamentally whether we're fulfilling our social mission and our commitment to the environment. And as our founder, Father Phil Harmon, likes to say, to our commitment to sort of the holistic spiritual approach in a general sense. And a board is a very important governance body that helps us stay accountable to those broader issues.
That's right. And taking off my CPA and financial hat for a moment, as we were talking a little bit earlier, sometimes the so-called return on investment, or the ROI, is not necessarily a dollar return. It's a return that's based on community improvement or community plus.
Yeah, absolutely. We like to talk about the triple bottom line. So the ROI is significant, and financial viability creates the context for doing good programs. But it's not the end all. The return on investment, you have to look at the social impact of what one is doing, the social impact of one's decisions, of course, in an increasingly populated and polluted planet. The environmental impact, as we all know, is more and more significant. And then, that fourth element is sort of that holistic, trying to weave them all together in sort of a strong spiritual intention of a corporation.
Very good. And Dennis, how would a bank factor that into their analysis if they came looking for maybe a loan?
Well, I think that for any business, you're either selling a product or service, but you also have to sell yourself, and you have to create the relationships and get involved with organizations. I think it's important on how you align yourself, how you involve yourself in the community. Just like a bank, as a banker, even though we have our desk work, we have internal paperwork, but it's very relationship driven. And one thing that I find in common, you read books, listen to interviews, or actually speak to a business owner directly, many of them say that it's important to give back and to be involved in communities, just like what you two gentlemen do. It's a very common and very important thing, because when you contribute to your community, to your state, your government, or your society, it brings a sense of reward. It's not only just on the dollars, but it's based upon your contribution as well. And that's where, as a lender at Hawaii National Bank, we try to get involved in business communities, social communities, just like everybody else. And the pure fact of just getting out there and getting to know people and trying to make a positive contribution.
Very good.
And they look deeply into our business from the perspective of a consultant, not just a banker, but to really help us out.
Well, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and we're going to drill down a little bit more into the business aspects of what you're doing, maybe how Hawaii National Bank is structured to fit into the community maybe differently than maybe some of the other banks are, and specifically what you're doing to help the community. So we'll be back shortly. This is Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker, and we're talking with Dennis Wong of Hawaii National Bank and with Tom McDonald of Kahumana, sorry, and we'll be right back.
Aloha, my name is PJ and I'm the host of Hawaii Sports Update. I am very interested in local sports and that's why I host the Hawaii Sports Update show. I bring in guests from Hawaii, I bring in guests from UH, I bring in guests from the community, I bring in big names, I bring in small names, I bring in all names that are community related and doing positive things, sports related in the community. Come join me every Tuesday at 1 p.m. here on Hawaii Sports Update. You can also join me on my golf tournament, the first annual PJ Sports Radio Show golf tournament. It's going to be held at Coral Creek. For any information, go to ThinkTech Hawaii, INC, and friend us. The PayPal and a summary of the event will be right there available for you. And don't forget to tweet us.
Welcome back. This is Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker, and I'm here with Dennis Wong of Hawaii National Bank and with Tom McDonald of Kahumana, and we're going to drill down a little bit into the business aspects of what they do and learn a little bit more about their daily lives. So Dennis, why don't you share with us what makes Hawaii National Bank so unique?
Well, we're locally owned, and we've been in business since 1960, and we're also privately owned. So that sets us apart from other banks, first of all, because the way that we utilize our funds is not necessarily only for profit-driven, but we spoke earlier about how we can contribute to the community and provide a service. As well as for us, we're unique in this sense that all of our lending officers are regarded as private bankers. So we not only have the business development end, but we have the relationship end, and we're able to drill deeper and closer. Our products, although banks are very similar in products, but we like to take a business like, say, Tom's one, analyze what are the requirements of their business, and then basically suggest custom-made products that would fit him. One example, what we did with Tom's company is last year we had the honor of nominating him to be in the Pacific Business News nonprofit. And fortunately and successfully, he won the award. And,
Thank you, yeah.
And Tom can tell you more about that. But because he won the award, that led him to subsidies and grants that were additional and beyond his normal cost of revenue. And
So that's a real value.
was
add.
sizable.
Yeah.
So it wasn't only just the products and services of the bank, but it was the relationship and the contacts and the involvement.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. That's impressive. So I guess, Tom, it's been a pretty good relationship.
It's been a very good relationship, and thank you very much for that nomination. That really gave our nonprofit, which is a 40-year-old nonprofit, momentum in the last year to do more and exciting things, and gave us the kind of visibility, especially in Greater Honolulu, which is sometimes hard to get, especially for a place-based nonprofit on the west side in Waianae. So thank you for that nomination.
Thank you.
It was a real thrill to do that, to be part of that process.
It was fun.
Yeah. So if I may, Kahumana Community is really at the crossroads between the movements of farming and food and addressing issues of homelessness and disability. And so we see ourselves as a community in the middle of these four things. So we're on Ag 1 farmland. We've received a variance to run social programs and to build transitional housing. With that organic produce that we grow, we also have a commercial kitchen, which is actually the largest employer of all of our social enterprises. We have an on-farm restaurant, and we have a retreat and learning center where organizations, schools, nonprofits, churches private groups, weddings can come and do retreats.
So you truly have a community out there.
We are a vibrant community of over 600 people, very diverse people from all walks of life. And that community vision was really the original vision of Father Phil Harmon 40 years ago. He wanted to create a community of diversity where people from all different backgrounds, which are so commonly segregated in modern society, and we can see this on our island of Oahu. He wanted to create a genuinely inclusive place where the practice of inclusivity is really the spiritual practice, focused around social work. So we've become now the largest transitional housing program for homeless families in the state. We have over 1,000 individuals go through that program every year. We have a small but growing program for adults with developmental disabilities and autism. This year we hope to create a day program on the windward side, working with the Hawaii Autism Foundation.
Wow.
And then supporting this large group of people transitioning from homelessness, people with disabilities. We have 4 social enterprises: the farm, the cafe, our commercial kitchen, and our retreat center, which provide vocational training and jobs for those folks.
Now, I know our listeners are probably wondering a little bit about the business in Hawaii and how does this, what appears to be a social program, fit into that overall theme. And
Yeah.
what I'd like to suggest is that the different components that you've got going within this community,
Yeah.
with the cafe and,
Yeah.
and with the housing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a product and service there.
Absolutely,
There's a lot
yeah.
of rules and regulations. There's a lot of
Absolutely,
challenges.
yeah.
You've got to raise money.
Yeah.
You've got to make it profitable.
Yeah.
It's got to be sustainable.
Yeah, yeah.
So in essence, you know, you're almost like a mayor of a little community,
Yeah.
and you've got fiscal responsibilities. And so there are business aspects to this. Even though there is a social program, there are business aspects.
Absolutely, and we're trying every year to develop that evaluative culture, the culture of evaluation from a financial point of view, but also from the social point of view, to really look at whether we're achieving the kind of social results and community results that we want to do. So we're getting better, but we're not perfect, but we get better and better every year as we develop new ways of looking at how to evaluate and provide feedback about what we're doing.
Very good.
Yeah.
And you've got a couple of the most challenging industries, you know, that
Yeah.
you're wrestling with, and you're making it successful.
Well, you know, as a state, we actually are not successful yet at addressing homelessness, as we know.
That's true.
We at Kahumana have been addressing it or being involved with it for over 25 years. We were one of the first transitional housing sites on the island. However, I see tremendous progress, and I feel very fortunate to be part of this community with the mayor and the new governor and Partners in Care, and there's just a lot of work at creating, taking a very disparate system, a very unintegrated system, and trying to integrate it and develop more collaboration. We're going to make big progress in the next year.
Well, it sounds like you're definitely headed in the right direction, because although you may not have solved the entire state's homeless problem, you have helped 1,000 people.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's, to me, success.
Yeah.
You know, those are 1,000 people that haven't been helped before.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking about the cafe that you have,
Yes.
and the agricultural operations that you have,
Well, yeah.
that are both
Yeah.
industry, you know, challenging industries to be in.
They are, and they're related. You know, at the heart of homelessness and disability is a sort of disenfranchisement and disconnection. And the farm and the cafe is a natural way to get people reconnected. And yet, as we all know, farms and restaurants are some of the hardest businesses to run, and we struggle with that. You know, I have to say, thanks to the public in Hawaii, we can sell every leaf of kale that we grow. There's tremendous demand. And if any of you out there who want to get into organic farming, it's a tough business, but people love to eat locally grown organic produce.
And they're generally willing to pay for it.
And willing to pay for it, and to pay the premium that reflects the premium of the labor and the inputs that go into organic farming.
Very good. So I guess it's fair to say that agriculture in Hawaii is not quite dead.
No, in fact, not at all. And I think there's a real solid growing movement toward supporting small local farms to bring back local production. People like to eat stuff that's grown right here in our wonderful soil.
Very good. So do you think there's a business opportunity there?
You know, I think for those of you out there who want to be a farmer and who are willing to toil in the soil and willing to put in the tremendous hours that farming requires, there is a good opportunity to develop our local agricultural
Very
market.
good. That
Yeah.
sounds promising. That's
Yeah.
one of those legs of the stool that were a little wobbly there for a while. It's
Yeah.
good that it's coming back.
Absolutely. You have to be creative, you have to network, you have to work with landowners and financiers. You've got to consider not only growing vegetables, but value added, so you can get the margins that you need to cover your costs. So it takes a real business approach, not just a farming approach, but tough business analysis, help from people at the university, among the private enterprise community, but help us out there for those who are willing to work hard.
That's
May I,
exciting.
may I
Yeah.
add to that
Yeah.
too? And the state of Hawaii has a very beneficial and preferable, favorable type of financing program under the state of Hawaii Department of Agriculture,
Yeah.
of which we're familiar, and we do loans in that area, and we assist farmers.
Yeah.
And also, if you're looking into the food industry, at Hawaii National Bank too, we have a special loan program for food services or retailers.
Wow.
So even though those are challenging markets, we've been throughout the many years part of the startup of restaurants or involved
Yeah.
with farms as far as farming, as far as obtaining their agricultural land, or if they're leasing, getting their equipment or developing a facility, helping them out there.
Yeah.
So not only do you have the experience of working in the industry, you know a lot of the players in the industry. So that when someone comes to you for some bank products, you can not only provide the bank product, but also maybe coordinate some introductions to other players that could be beneficial to the company.
Yes, in addition to the industry products which banks do directly, and let's say from the loaning component, we're also involved with the Small Business Administration, which you're involved with. We also make loans under the United States Department of Agriculture or USDA loan programs. We're involved with the SBA 504 loan program, so if any business wants to purchase an existing facility or purchase a land and build a facility on it, there's advantageous loan programs under the 504. And we're also involved with the State of Hawaii Department of Agriculture. So because we're familiar with the local businesses and we're familiar with those operators and the loan programs, we're able to provide those specialized services to them.
Very
Yeah.
good. Now, I know, Tom, you mentioned that you have operations in Waianae, but you're also planning on opening up another location?
Yes, by mid-February, we hope to open up the Windward Center for Autism and Developmental Disability, especially for those group of older kids, young adults who are graduating out of the Department of Education. And we see that there's definitely a big demand among parents and families, especially on the Windward side, to start a new program.
And what is the nature of that program?
So it will be a day program based in Kailua town. We'll have participants who have adults with developmental disabilities and autism. So we will provide the support through case management and direct service workers to integrate that group of young adults into the broader Kailua business community. So the whole thing is about integration and inclusiveness. It's not, a remote little program, a congregate program of like-minded people, but it's rather a program that's right in the center of the town and fully integrated into the life of the town, Kailua Park, Kailua Beach, Whole Foods, Safeway, the local elementary and intermediate schools.
And if the merchants in Kailua wanted to get involved with this process, this is going to start in February.
Yes.
Is there an opportunity for them to embrace this?
Absolutely. not only indirectly by buying our produce, but directly and most importantly by opening their doors to people who they might not normally hire or include on their staff. And with the support from our, direct service workers, our coworkers, we can help folks get inclusive jobs.
Very good,
Yeah.
very good. And I know Hawaii National Bank also has, I see the branches all over Oahu, but you also have Neighbor Island
Yeah.
presence too, right?
Yes, we have two on the island of Hawaii, one in Poinaco and one in Hilo, and then we also have two on Maui.
And so you can help with the agricultural industries in both of those islands as well.
Yes, in fact, nowadays with electronic banking and a business owner is not tasked with having to come into the bank all the time. They can live or operate further away from a bank branch, and they have what they call electronic banking or imaging, where they can actually image their checks and make the deposits
That's right.
directly without coming into the bank. So the
Just a
banks
matter
are
of
able to
taking a
reach-
picture of the check and.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yes, and so that's really changing banking
It has
quite a
indeed.
bit. Yeah.
I wanted to just, at our housing site, our 3 sites in Waianae, we have close to $500,000 a year utility bill.
Wow.
It's 125 homes, it's a farm, it's businesses. And Dennis has worked with us. The end result will be that we'll have photovoltaics on a lot of those roofs. And one of the ways that he helped us think about it was to think about getting equity investors that we as a nonprofit can't benefit from because of the, of our tax status.
Because of the tax credits
Yeah,
that are available.
He
Yes.
introduced that whole idea and said, you can get actually an equity investor who could then benefit from the tax credits. And we're able to get our per kilowatt hour price way down, which will be a tremendous benefit. The end result will be that we'll have more funding to get more families into permanent homes more quickly.
Well, it sounds like a really good partnership to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
We're at a break time here. This is Reg Baker with Business in Hawaii, talking with Tom McDonald and Dennis Wong, and we'll be right back in about a minute.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen. I'm the host of Likeable Science on ThinkTech Hawaii. We talk about why people should like science, why science is actually fun, how science is a dynamic and vital part of everyone's life, why everyone, every man, woman, and child on the planet should really know science, should love science, should be familiar with science. So it's a great show. People come on here and have interesting conversations with us. They tell us why they do what they do, why they love it, why we should love it too. I hope you'll join us every Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. And of course, you can see it anytime on YouTube. Aloha.
Welcome back. This is Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker, and I'm here with Dennis Wong of Hawaii National Bank and Tom McDonald of Kahumana. And we are having a really good conversation about how even nonprofits are able to be run as businesses and be successful in Hawaii. Of course, we all have challenges, but we work around those. And we're going to talk a little bit about that now. Tom, where do you see your operations going in the next few years? What's in store for them?
So, it sounds a little dramatic, but we actually are dealing with some epidemics now in Hawaii, the epidemic of homelessness. We've seen family homelessness grow by 70% in the last 3 years. We've seen the numbers of diagnosed autistic kids go up tremendously, so that it's, 1 in I believe 65 now are diagnosed autistic. We have an epidemic of cheap imported food. Not to criticize the guys who are importing. Of course, we buy imported food as well. But we have an epidemic of the lack of availability of good locally sourced organic food. So what we would like to do in the coming years and decade is to just help contribute to reducing the impacts of these epidemics. We want to solve homelessness by 2020. By 2020, we would like to have the systems in place as a community, in a broad community, the feds, the state, the cities, the private providers, of really having a system, a crisis response system that's in place so that there are no homeless people by 2020.
When you say no homeless people, does that mean zero?
That means functional zero. That means that everybody who wants to get into a shelter or a house has the access to it. Right now, there are tremendous barriers. Even if you want to get into permanent housing, we just don't have the inventory to do it. Of course, there will always be people who choose to live on the streets.
Those chronic cases that don't want the help.
Yeah, and those are very, very few. That's a very, very small percentage. In most cases, through deep engagement, through continual engagement, we usually get those folks to want to move into a better environment as well. Very few people actually choose to live on the streets for the long term. So we can get it to functional zero, I think, by 2020. Likewise, we hope to move out of our west side location, be more involved in the Honolulu community, addressing homelessness issues here and on the windward side. So we hope to expand our regional scope and kind of take it from there.
Does it look like you're going to get some collaboration, maybe with the city and county and the state?
Absolutely. There's tremendous goodwill there. There's a renewed focus of attention from both the state and the city. And something perhaps that's relatively new, I think there's a renewed sense of the importance of collaboration between all of those different divisions, and that the solution lies in the middle between all those contributors.
Very good.
And network approach.
And I know this again sounds very social based, but Dennis, what you're doing at Hawaii National Bank is actually helping this social organization achieve some of these very impressive goals.
Tom's organization is very unique in many type of industries. It's specifically driven where, as a nonprofit organization, he's involved with transitional housing, he's involved into organic farming, as well as running a restaurant. And there are other operations that are involved with your company. So at the bank, we're challenged to try to understand his business because there's different elements to it. And like you mentioned, you had about 9 different divisions, all having independent budgets. Then we're having to understand and drill into that. And so therefore, we attack the approach simplistically, where first it starts with the relationship. And I think we got to have that dialogue, the closeness, the understanding. And fortunately to them, because of their financial departments, their internal segments are well organized, then it's easier for him to provide the type of reporting that the bankers so required. As you know, banks, we continuously must have updated financial statements that are current and not lagging behind.
And reliable.
Yes, and his statements are audited. So then, but he also has the task of doing internal statements as well too. So we work directly with his internal financial department and head, who has a CPA background. But with that, what we're able to do is look at the depository requirements that their organization requires, as well as other auxiliary type of services. But also we look at the financial requirements too, because it's important to properly match liabilities to the assets. So what you want to do is match short-term working capital requirements with a short-term type of financing vehicle. And anything long-term, such as fixed assets, then we look at a long-term matching of that type of loan facility. But in this case, we're able to work out a reserve working capital facility that, in case if there's any lags or delays in collection or any timing difference, it provides them a sense of comfort.
So this financial structure is very important to the success of this nonprofit organization, but also a key component of for-profit organizations. So, having this financial infrastructure in place and reporting capabilities are going to be very important, regardless of the type of entity that you have.
Absolutely.
It's very critical, because if you have a business, and Tom runs a fairly sizable business as well, But you want to make sure that there's two important components. One is that you have adequate working capital to handle your day-to-day timing differences. Most businesses are banks, whether they know it or not, because if you're carrying accounts receivables or you're fronting costs up front, of which later on you'll be collecting on the back end, you have to create the financial means in order to provide the sources of income to pay for that material, for labor, payroll, as well as your overhead expenses. So you have a short-term working capital need. Now, as far as long-term, when you run a facility, you need equipment, you have to make infrastructure improvements, or whether you own your own facility and require long-term financing, then that type of long-term product or services is required. So what we do is we look at the financial statements and make sure that there's reliability on the numbers, and then we can work with the business owner directly and so suggest what type of facilities that would fit the needs.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And go ahead, Tom.
Well, I just might add that such a key component of reliability is transparency. And we have 100 employees divided up into 7 different divisions now, and each division has a P&L. Those P&Ls are audited. We present them to our bankers. We present them internally. And every manager and every employee has access to all the details of those expenses. Of course, some fine details are sensitive, benefit packages
Like
and
how
things
much
like
people
that.
make.
Right. So, but you can look at global figures. What percentage of your budget is going to cover, management salaries, staff salaries, benefits, things like that. And having available profit and loss, income expense statements, as well as total transparency within the organization, in my mind, is the way to have that kind of accountability all across.
You've got 9 divisions, you've got 9 P&Ls, you've
Yeah.
got all these balls in the air. What is the most critical component that you have to have in order to keep track and stay on top of all this?
Yeah, definitely a good, solid CPA-trained financial director. Someone who.
Now, guys, I did not pay him to say that.
But one of the first things I did when I joined is we used a recruitment company, one of the local financial recruitment companies, and it actually was a significant expense which our board approved. But we got a top-notch guy who can come in and manage that on the financial side, and timely, accurate reports. That very disciplined approach is so key to any enterprise and any business, nonprofit or profit. And it's not the end all, but it's the building blocks on which you can do all the other fun stuff and make sure that you have the resources and the accountability to do
Right,
it.
and you have to have equally competent people on the operations side as well.
Yeah.
That is the delivering the product.
Well,
and,
absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
so there's a balance in there that needs to be reached.
Well, for sure, yeah. No, absolutely. Talking about sort of the business structure and at its center and at its core is that financial discipline. But of course, at the end of the day, the success or failure of your company, nonprofit or profit, is your ability to deliver those services and the enthusiasm and the competence, with which you deliver it.
Actually, many businesses that I see, I've been a banker since 1977, there's a lot of them may not have that financial discipline or that balance. And like what Tom has said, that it's important, what we emphasize to business owners is that whether they're starting up a company or whether they're running a company, and a lot of them are expanding and growing revenue, that it's important to have that financial element and have current financial statements, have it accurate and reliable and available.
Yeah.
Very good. I believe we are very close to the end of our broadcast today. I want to thank both of you for being here.
Thank you.
I think we've got some great insight and some valuable information we've shared. And of course, I want to thank our great production staff for a super job here in the studio. I hope to see everybody again next week, Thursday at 2 o'clock for Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker. All right, thank you very much.